Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train, or welcome back if we've shared this space before. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey of self-healing, inner strength, and personal growth. This podcast is a safe, judgment-free space dedicated to the realities of living with and healing from trauma. Through personal stories and in-depth conversations with special guests, including therapists, healers, practitioners, and fellow survivors, we look at what healing can truly look like in everyday life. We explore realistic healing journeys and share simple, sustainable practices and actionable tools to support your well-being along the way. So grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember, you are not on this journey alone. Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey towards self-healing, inner strength, and personal growth. This podcast is a judgment-free space where we talk about trauma, healing, modalities in all their forms. Today, I am joined by the incredible Dana Grant, who is the host of The Dana Grant Show and author of The Truth Within the Lie. Dana, welcome. And thank you so much for being here today. I am absolutely overwhelmed and starstruck because you are incredible.
Lydia, thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here. I always tell people you don't get what you want unless you ask. And that goes with healing and trauma, all of it. So you reached out, you asked, you connected. It was you that did it. It wasn't a fancy format. And I'm like, yes, it's surprising what the universe will do. So I'm thrilled to be here and be connected with you.
Thank you so much. I found you from one of my friends that was a guest on your podcast. And then I went in and I had like a look through your page. And this was before the launch of your book. And everything that you say, I just connected with because of your journey and how you've overcome trauma. So for that are listening that don't know you, don't know your story, can you just tell us a little bit about Dana?
Well, where do we start? Are we starting back 61 years ago? Or are we starting with where there was an awakening? What would you like? We'll go there.
Let's start with the moment that you realized that actually you'd been through trauma. The moment that actually you thought, okay, I can do
Yeah.
something about this. That wasn't a normal, as it were, kind of life.
Well, that's a good question because I think when we grow up in trauma and we're in fight or flight or whatever stage that we are in the trauma cycle, we don't recognize, we don't know we're in trauma. We don't know we're any different. We think the whole world is built that way. And I think that we just keep putting that armor on because that's what's needed to survive. And I think that the real pivot was when the survival mode wasn't working anymore, that my system that I built was collapsing. And I'm going to start around 27. Everything I attracted was what I knew, and it wasn't healthy. And so I was constantly in this state of chaos, even though it looked extraordinarily successful. Behind the scenes, it was chaotic and it was disjointed. But I think that when my migraines started at 28, my body started to, and I don't mean migraines, I mean off the cuff research centers all over the world. I was in the top 2%, hospitalized 10 days a month. My body went haywire. I don't know if you can think of the worst. I don't think of migraines as headaches. The worst kind of debilitating pain. You can't speak. It was like a stroke. I'm vomiting, hyperemesis, and I'm hospital. They even put me in comas in order to just survive. So see,
Wow.
we have to pick our survival mode, and then the pendulum would swing and I'd get better. And I was committed to the perfection paralysis because what would the world think of me if I wasn't showing up and doing everything and setting records and doing this? And then the pendulum would swing and I was sick. And that went on for a decade, raising 3 daughters, paying that trauma forward. I was completely out of control. As in control as my life looked, I was completely emotionally out of control. I was not equipped for anything. However, I go back and love those versions of me because
Mhm.
they got me here. And I have love and compassion for them because they didn't know any better. So I think my awakening was one day I was in my kitchen, and at this point, they said, we can't do anything for you, and but pain medicine. I was taking about 20,000 milligrams of Demerol, and what that is a narcotic a month, injectable. I
Wow.
mean, literally, I don't know if anyone knows anything about that, but the level of that, but that's enough to kill an elephant. It's enough. I should not be here. I just should
Mm-mm.
not. And being married to a practitioner, I felt safe because safety lived out here. The doctors know better, he knows better, everyone knows better. I had no idea, just like the chaos and the trauma, I had no idea that there was no safety in here. I didn't trust
Mhm.
myself at all. It would be like, "Am I okay?" It was almost like that Dr. Seuss book that I love to reference, where the duck is following the crane. It's one of Dr. Seuss's first book. "Are you my mother?" I didn't trust that anything was the way it was. Everything was distorted, and trauma will do this. We can talk
Mhm.
about trauma bonds, and we don't know if it's love or it's not. It's muddled, and there is no clear, clean answer. But the one thing I can say is that we have to choose, like I did that day in my kitchen, to tear up those 30,000 milligrams of Demerol, the 20 vials that I was going to go pick up. I said, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. So when I wrote the book, The Truth Within the Lie, what I thought was the truth, that is, if you don't take this medicine, you're gonna die of a stroke, you're gonna die from pain. But the truth was, I was gonna die if I kept taking it.
That doesn't even kind of compute in my brain because with that amount of drugs, like if that was an illegal drug, you would be like people would be concerned for you. People would be going out saying, you need to go and see
Oh,
somebody for
they were concerned. They were
Mm.
concerned. I mean, I was being called a drug addict, and then I was committed, to fighting for, and I was a good advocate for myself, So what I utilized, and this is where the blinders come in, you know, um, I was so devoted to proving my case. Being a former lobbyist, it's like I was gonna get what I needed to take care of me, that I lost sight of what it was I was really fighting for. So here I was fighting for something that was killing me, and the fact of the matter was it was too much medication. The fact of the matter
Yeah.
was is my body was saturated, I was malnourished, I was completely, and how I survived and the pendulum swung and I ran my household and raised my children, but let's face it, I paid the trauma forward, because there's
Yeah.
no way you can't even be sick like that, but you can't take that level of medicine and not have an impact on your children.
Yeah.
So the version of that now is healing that trauma, is being accountable. Trauma is something that is like the gift that keeps, paying forward. And what we can do to stop it is the accountability and the healing that's required. And I like to keep it simple. We go back to all those versions, the one that thought the medicine was saving her, the one that was a rager, the one that had absolutely no tools and played the offense, defense, and defended herself. How we show up in the world, and I can recognize it everywhere now. But what I had to do was go back and love every version that kept me alive, that got me
Yeah.
here. I cannot shame the versions of me that had trauma. I mean, trauma, my whole life was trauma. Was
Mm.
born into trauma with an alcoholic father and a mother that just failed to connect. She had her own trauma. So my survival mode was from day one, and with 5 siblings, we all have a different relationship to what that looks like. And then eventually it morphed into an illness, and we can say, "Well, that's genetic." I don't believe
Mm.
that either. I believe that we're predisposed to certain illnesses, but we have the power to heal and to regulate what our body is doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree because I think there are things in the world where people that literally kind of accept what's moving forward or what you've been in. Oh well, that's just what it is. There's alcoholism in my family. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just normal. It's like
Yeah.
a almost a connection to them because they're
Yeah.
like, well, they did it, so that must mean I'm going to do it. When you were going through that by taking all those drugs, and I know you've just said that uh, you were passing the trauma forward where your 3 daughters obviously were in the midst of that. What were the drugs doing to you? Was it I know it was for a migraine, but physically, was it like a numbing agent for what you were feeling?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Absolutely it was, because the line got very blurred whether I was taking it. I mean, I had the best neurologist at UCSF. I mean, sought after, published. he said, "Take it before the migraines hit." Well, it gave me permission, and this I wanna preempt this with I've never drank in my life. I've never done an illegal drug. I think I did well, let me recap, let's be really honest, I think I did marijuana once. That just wasn't my MO. I was a control freak, so when they first gave me this medication, I didn't know what a narcotic was. I did
Yeah.
natural childbirths without an aspirin. I mean, even over the counter, I took nothing. I grew up very holistic. It wasn't an option because when you have control issues and you feel out of control, there was nothing I wanted. So when this started, I recognized now I was in complete denial then, and I defended it to the end and was a great advocate for myself, is that I was taking it for the emotional pain. Nobody, not an alcoholic, not anyone in trauma takes that they wanna numb out, they don't wanna feel. And when people are like, "You're an addict, you're addicted." Well, it's a pattern that you keep trying to numb the same pain, so you have to get to the root of the trauma, and you have to be willing to feel the pain, and I remember when I went to my core wound, the core wound and the core fear are connected, and my core wound was deep, was I did not wanna feel unwanted, unloved, not smart enough, all those dominant thoughts that we don't consciously think about, but subconsciously they're running my whole program. The minute I rubbed up against something that didn't feel right, medication. And this is the same with any kind of addiction. Yes,
Mhm.
I had a valid reason to take it, but am I any different? Because I had a prescription drug and I looked different and I hit that I could hide better. I have to be
Mhm.
radically accountable. If I'm going to expand and grow in this life, I have to say, you took it when you didn't have legitimate pain there because something upset you and you did not want to feel that. And to be honest, I didn't have the tools or the capacity. So our job is to drop in and realize that the pain and the trauma isn't going to eat us. We are required to do no spiritual bypassing, to drop in and hold space for that. And I will tell anyone that's listening to find a space, find a
Mhm.
safe space, a safe person. We don't go everywhere and share it. I mean, now I'm healed enough that if I share it and someone from the crowd on a stage in a big audience says, "You're a drug addict," I'm gonna be like, instead of defending, I'm like, "Yeah, I probably was. Next." It doesn't
Yeah.
rub up against anything. But I think we have to own and we have to heal. We are required when we know better. Universal law, when we know better, we do better. That is essential. Every step I knew, I didn't know it all. I still don't know it all. I
Mhm.
recognize that I am on this growth trajectory. There wasn't anything addictive in my personality, but I will tell you that I hung on to that. Number one, I was terrified of the pain, but I also was even more terrified of the trauma that I
Mhm.
did not know existed. So we pivot and we grab at something tangible because trauma isn't always tangible.
Yeah. It can be in some respects for people that have been through what they call I
Mhm.
think it's called the big T. But if you're someone that, like you say, when you're a child and you're living through something, you're not living through a trauma, you're just living your own childhood.
You're just
So
surviving and you think everyone else
yeah,
is probably doing the same thing.
exactly that, and, like, the fact that you are, like, thinking about the fact that your father's going through
Yeah,
alcoholism,
yeah.
and for me, I think that when I've listened to you before and you said, "I've never touched a drop of alcohol in your life," which I think is phenomenal, by the way, because people generally do pick up that
Yeah.
trait, I suppose, but I think being put onto prescription drugs when you are so kind of clear of those substances,
Well, and
that is
I'm gonna interrupt here and say, I had no idea. I wasn't avoiding addiction or
mm,
fearful of, "Oh, I'm gonna be an alcoholic." I wasn't afraid of any of that. I was terrified of what I was watching. And, there's a couple layers here, which is really interesting. You know, I I was I never wanted to be out of control, so I didn't touch alcohol because I didn't wanna be out of control. But also in a secondary, my dad showed me, and this was the safer parent, you know, out of the parents, that was my safer parent. He showed me, and it was episodic. He didn't drink all the time, but when he did, it was dark and it was ugly. But I think he suffered, and this is where the gratitude comes in. I'm so grateful for him because he suffered so I didn't need to. He showed me enough to have me say, "I don't ever wanna go there. I don't ever want to experience the pain that I witnessed with him, and I
Yeah.
witnessed pain. Every time my parents divorced when I was 7, so we would go for holidays, and he would be sober for months. I mean, he was a millionaire, successful, but we would show up. It's not like we have this image of what that looks like. It was a beautiful world, but we would show up, and I remember my stepsister, who I was very close to the same age, she would say, "I don't know why he does this every time you come. He's been sober for a year, and then you come," because he could not emotionally regulate. He couldn't
Yeah.
handle the loss, the infiltration of the children. He wanted to be perfect, and so what did he do? He sabotaged it.
Yeah.
I've done that a million times. Where are we sabotaging our life? We don't wanna do it. Our
No.
subconscious just comes in and says, "Well, listen, you probably," and he didn't have the emotional capacity because his father was an alcoholic and didn't give him the skills, and so we just keep paying it forward until we
Mhm.
interrupt the chaos, the trauma, and we say, "I'm the one. Maybe I'm the
Mhm.
generational one that's going to heal this." And the naysayers and all the things and all, it doesn't matter. The more accountable we can be in showing up for this, and that's why I wrote the book, and I probably wasn't nearly as vulnerable as the next book's gonna be. But
Mm.
what I did was I told 14 stories of my life, and then I gave the modalities, multiple modalities and universal laws that come in and support us and can help us heal.
Honestly, it's generational trauma is beyond, I think, and you've recognized that with saying that obviously that your dad was I can't even talk. Your dad was an alcoholic. His dad
Yeah.
was,
And
and
my
it's
brothers, I mean, it affected all areas of my life
mhm,
as well as migraines, my
yeah,
grandmother, my nieces, nephews, sisters, siblings, but I chose to heal, and I chose to believe that it isn't just like I remember identifying, I'm a migraineur. I identified. I We speak our life into existence. I
hmm
claimed it. Boom, there's a stake in it. I'm a migraineur, which meant you can't count on me. I'm gonna get sick. So see, I spoke my life into existence. And then I would back it up with my family sick. I have nieces and nephews in Berkeley. They're sick and had I would justify it. And the minute I started changing and speaking a different life into existence, that I no longer identified as a migraineur, and I don't now. It's like there may be a rogue headache, but it's rogue at that,
hmm
and I speak a different language. We must upgrade our language, and we've gotta keep it simple. We don't have to go through this difficult process. Trauma is enough. That is a
yeah,
difficult process
absolutely.
to survive. Let's keep it simple. Let's speak a new life into existence. So anytime, I mean, before my feet hit the ground in the morning, it's like, all is well in my world. I am safe. I am loved. I am protected. Now, I think the migraines came in. I didn't feel safe. I was attached to external validation. I was constant in self abandonment. Chaos and trauma were my world. I powered up when I could have conflict and confrontation because that's where I got my power. And now it's like, oh, not giving my energy there because everything is energy and our body
Yeah,
stores it all. And now I'm very careful what I speak into existence. And and I paid a very valuable. I say valuable price because when I stopped that medication, what came next was 17 forms of staph in my legs. I almost lost my legs because my body was malnourished. The injections, my body it was saturated, could no longer take it, and they morphed into sores that went into eating my muscle, my tissue. I almost lost my legs. So I told God,
wow.
if you save my legs, I will pay this forward the rest of my life. And I just walked the Camino
Just
and yeah, did I want to wear shorts on one day? Yeah. Did I? No. I but I dropped into the gratitude, the highest vibration I could do, that thank you, God, for these legs. Thank you for giving me the strength to heal. Can I change the scars? Well, I don't know technology now. I guess I could, but they're a reminder of how my strength, of what I've gone through. I don't need perfection. I don't need to show anyone how beautiful my legs are. That's not important to me. What's important to me is that I show up, I'm honest, and that I can help change lives.
absolutely, and you can stand on those 2 feet, and you can stand
Yeah.
up on stage, and you can pay it forward. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, these size you stand on these size 12 feet and pay it forward, yeah, it's crazy. And I make jokes about that because I think that perfection is, just that, it's a paralysis. It's not obtainable, it's not real, you'll never obtain it. Why we seek it is because we wanna fulfill something within us that is trauma driven. The success I had as a lobbyist, my early success was trauma driven. We have to identify, we have to be master detectives in our life and
Mhm.
identify, "Why am I showing up this way? Why am I sabotaging? I've just set records that have been unbreakable, but then I crash and burn, and then I fight my way back." There was definite, and it's all plugged into that core wound. We have to identify,
Yeah.
where did the source come from? We didn't just wake up in our 20s, 30s and say, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what happened." No, it
No.
starts in our years. It starts at birth. And from birth to 7, we hear it all and we simulate it all from there. And I'm gonna say this, we come into the world with 2 fears, 2 fears, 2 fears. The fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else is
Yeah.
programmed. Everything else is programmed. And I want people to look at their lives and say, "What have I programmed? What is my belief system? What do I speak over my life? What is my most dominant thought? What do I want? Not what do I need?" Because where there's a need, there's a
Yeah.
lie. I need the medicine. No, I don't. I want the medicine. The
Yeah.
need was a lie. So we have to hold ourselves accountable gently, compassionately, not harshly. The world is harsh enough.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's speaking out loud. I think we were talking about this just before we started recording. Have been doing the same thing because I through my trauma, I've gone through a lot of self-sabotage. Mine has mainly been through food. I did used to catch myself saying things and going, it was almost like it was an automatic walk towards like bad food. Well, I say bad food, but food that wasn't good or nutritionally valued
No,
for
I
my.
totally.
And I was the same as you, where you've come up and you've said, "Do you know what? I'm going to do this. This is me. I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm going to face the trauma." I remember being, I think I must have been about 19 or 20, and literally facing my abuser and
Mm,
saying, "It
mm.
stops with me." And it was so powerful, so powerful. But that was 19. That was 20 years ago. No, hold on. Yeah, 20 years ago. But that doesn't change the fact that even though I said that, and even though I was powerful, I hadn't changed my mindset. So
Yeah,
I was still speaking negatively about myself, what I expected of myself. So
yeah.
the law of attraction was there. The negativity was still like magnetic towards me.
You haven't
So
you didn't change your program.
no,
And
exactly
we're
that.
taking the, yeah, we're acknowledging, but I'm gonna take the program, and that's a subconscious at work. It's running 95% of what we do. And, Brené Brown said something brilliant lately, and I just can't stop paying it forward because it hit me right in my heart chakra. And she said, "It's not the fear that stops us from moving forward and expanding and growing." She just said stopping forward, but I can illuminate on that. It's the armor that we keep picking back up when it's not needed anymore, and it's debilitating. Just like you said, I'm using the blueprint of what worked, and it's like it's not speaking anything over my life, but repeating the cycle. And that's what I call it, the maze. That's what the ego wants. It wants to protect you. And the armor is the ego. And we're like, well, we don't need it anymore. We don't want to kill the ego. We just want to quiet it down so the heart-centered actions can expand. Ego's there to contract, to judge, separate. That heart energy just wants, it doesn't even recognize the ego. It just wants to
Mm,
expand and say, "What do I need to know?" And,
yeah.
it's connected to source. The ego is connected to your old stories, and there are 65,000 thoughts a day. 85% are repetitive, 90% are negative, and we're replaying those. And this is how we know it's a story, because we keep trying to get a different outcome. It's like, identify that and say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm gonna stop right now." And all we don't want to feel is the newness. The ego says, "I don't know how to protect you over there." And if we've had a life full of chaos and trauma, we're terrified of one thing, something new. We're like, "Not gonna do it. I would rather stay over here and replay and replay and replay." It keeps us very, very busy. And we're like, "It's my life is like groundhogs. Why is nothing changing?" Well, because we don't even identify that we've got the same story and you want a different outcome. Oh, no, 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 this is a different person. Oh, no, no, I've got remarried. And you're getting the same outcome. May show up differently, but you're attached to the same fix it energy.
So,
Okay, so we're going to pick up on the self-sabotage that's trauma driven and perfectionist trauma driven. Anything, even my success was trauma driven until I was chose the healing. Yeah, so
yeah,
let's drop in now to what the ego's job is, and I write about
yeah.
this in The Truth Within the Lie. The ego's job is to protect, and this is where Brené Brown said, it's not the fear that stops us. It's the armor that we keep putting back on that is no longer needed. But the ego says, put the armor on. I can't protect you without it. And that's what creates the cycle of even if we think we can identify the trauma, we're like, well, this person looks different. This situation is different, but we get the same results. And we're like,
Mhm,
I'm betrayed over and over again. I'm abandoned over and over again because we have not healed the core wound. And you will never identify if you do not do that. The core wound is the core fear. And until we really reckon, and I mean reckon, come to Jesus moment and say, wait a minute, and people will gaslight themselves all day long. Well, this person's different and they're showing up different and they get the same results. Why am I always abandoned? Why can't I ever find love? Why do I always end in divorce? Because you haven't healed the trauma, because you don't feel safe in here. So your external validation, your external connection is they're my rock. They're my
mhm.
safety. Nope, you're your safety. You're your rock. And that can be terrifying for people. That can be terrifying. Just the newness of making the change. The ego's job is to protect us. So it says, put the armor on, stay over here in the maze. The maze is all the stories, and it's going to keep you very busy. And then over here is the universal abundance, the playing field. And we're like, it's empty, it's vast, I don't know anybody. In fact, there's no one there. What do I do? It's new. And the ego's like, well, I can't protect you because the ego's job is to judge, divide, separate. And the heart energy is to expand. Is look at that expansive playing field, run wild. We're like, I don't know how to do that. No one ever taught me that. And it's kind of like our brain sends a message down to our body and it's a note. And we're like, the trauma comes down and we find the filing and we've got all these filing cabinet and we find the file and we put it in and we get a response. But when we start to change, like, I love myself. I trust myself. Like I said, all is well in my world. I am safe. I am loved. I'm protected. I do this every day, all day. When we do that, we go down. The message goes down. I said that message boom to my body, brain, body. I don't have a file for that. There's no
Mhm.
cabinet. There's no file. Alert, alert, alert. Something's new. Abort, abandon. And then we go right back to looking for something that is just simply familiar. Just
Yeah,
familiar.
absolutely. It's like, when that armor's up, you as much as it is it's a trauma armor, you're comfortable in that because you're not stepping out into the beyond. You're not stepping out into the world of safety because we've been so unsafe for so long that
Yeah.
taking that step, we just don't know what to feel. We don't know how to move
Yeah.
forward in that. When you said then that you do that, your meditation in the morning, just putting your hand on your heart and saying, I am safe, I'm protected.
Well, we start with first thing, this is my day to day. I mean, yes, I meditate and yes, I do other things, but simple things are the most powerful because people don't remember in trauma, with trauma brain, you try to implement, it's like, I can't remember because you're so busy overthinking. So we want to slow that down. And first thing before my feet hit the ground, my eyes wake up, deep breath, all is well in my world. I am safe. I am loved. I am protected, which it grounds me. Boom, I'm
Mm,
back in my body and I'm in trust. And then I go to the mirror and I say, Dana, what do you need from me today? I have a little list. What do you need from me today? Could you rest? Could you take a walk? Did I not build that in? Do you see it holds us accountable? And then I have a little list that I require my clients to do this as well. And then I go back to my calendar. I'm like, where can I walk? Where did I build that? And then I start building it in. If we do not ask and put a demand on the universe, we don't get it. If we cannot write out what we want, we cannot have it. We must put a demand on the universe. And this is where we think, why is my luck so bad? And then, the guilt and the victimhood It's why me, why me, why me? When we've not asked, we don't put a demand on. And when, again, when we know better, we are universal law required to do better. And that could
Yeah.
be micro, not macro. We don't quantum leap from trauma to abundance, but what we do is we acknowledge. We acknowledge where we are. We have to be radically honest, just like that medication. The doctor's the best in the world. I could have hid behind that. And that's the shadow work. I had to come out into the light and I had to be radically honest. This is killing me. I had to say it out loud. I remember tearing it up, terrified. I had no plan. And this is another thing. We all want, let me see what that looks like. Let me see the outcome. Married to the process, divorce the outcome. You will never know the outcome. It is none of our business, the outcome. And if I claim and I tear it up, I have to trust that everything's going to show up to support me. Doesn't mean I don't have to do the work, but it did. It's like, oh, look at that. And what's so crazy about that is Louise Hay, I was born on her birthday, and the first book, Heal Your Life, I knew nothing about it. And someone that day, I tear that up, I'm terrified. I am terrified. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm trying to glue the pieces back together. And, it's a triplicate. In the United States, that doesn't work. But what's so interesting is someone sent a book. Hey, you might be interested in this book, Heal Your Life, 21 days. And it's like, it was years before I figured out we had the same birth date. We wear the same ring on the same finger without knowing any of that. Synchronicities there are no coincidences. It's about calling in alignment if we're open and available. But if we're lying to ourselves, we're going to lie and our connections are going to be disjointed. Everything's going to be like, why is my world so chaotic? Well, it
Hmm.
starts in here. We can't be chaotic in here. We have to be clear. And sometimes it feels chaotic when I tell myself the radical truth. Sometimes I want to defend myself again when someone's really harsh with me. I'm like, that's not true. If you are playing the offense defense and if that resonated with you right there and you did it any part of your day or week, that right there, you should like slow down and stop. Offense defense lives in the ego. It wants to be right. The soul heart action just says, hey, let me look at that. Let me assess that. Well, that could be true. Thank you for that. Or if someone's really being ugly, I never like, "Oh, you're horrible," and I may block them, but I might release them with, "God bless your soul. God bless your soul."
Mm.
There's no higher vibration than that. We don't have to vibrate at a level that doesn't serve us. We can stay elevated in our thoughts, our most dominant thought, and the patterns just start to take hold, just like the patterns took hold before, the survival, the trauma. We don't have to live there. We It doesn't go away. It doesn't, but we learn to heal and understand, and I'm gonna say love and compassion for my dad for his suffering, love and compassion for my mom that she never got the nurture and the love to connect herself. She doesn't recognize any of that. It doesn't matter. I can still have love and compassion and say, "God bless her soul." I don't have to be right and say, "Why do you" victimhood again, "Why do you always do this to me? You ruin every holiday." No, and I also put a boundary up. Not like, "You're not welcome here," just and I don't even do "Can you behave" anymore. At 83, I recognize who she is. I accept that it's a wild card if she comes for the holidays because I never know what's gonna precipitate, what is she gonna do? Because in that attention-seeking chaos and trauma of hers, how she connects is through discontent. And if you recognize that, you have to say, "Am I willing to do that? Am I willing
Yeah.
to do that?" Because your greatest power is the right to choose. The right to choose in every single I can't even tell you how many times people say, "I don't have a choice. I didn't have a choice." Well, you just gave all your power away. Your greatest power is the right to choose. You have even saying you don't have a choice, you chose that. You chose
Yeah.
that decision. So it's like, you don't have a choice. Yes, you do.
You had that one or that one.
No matter what it is, you have a choice. You just have to make the best choice for you at that moment. Everybody's in a different place, a different emotional place, a different place in their trauma. And I think the ego wants to judge it. It wants to shut it down. It wants to protect you. And I think even I, I'm grateful for my ego. There were years I needed that protection because life wasn't safe. I had parents that weren't safe. That ego came in and said, "We're not safe. Alert, alert, alert." And that protected me. It protected
Yeah.
me from predators. It protected from a lot of things. where I didn't have a lot of protection growing up. But now, it's not like I lived on the street. I grew up in a very, very upperly mobile, wealthy but there wasn't eyes on me. There wasn't protection around me. And now I view the world and my relationship to the world is different. I don't need the ego to step up and protect me and create chaos and that's what it's gonna do. And victimhood.
Uh,
Does that make sense? I
yeah,
mean,
no,
does that
absolutely. It's just I'm listening, and as I'm listening, I'm like, "Yep, I can understand that. Yep, I relate to that. Yep." Because I think we are so when we are in that moment, when we are in in survival mode, and when we're being protected, when our nervous system is, "No, this is not good for us." We kind of get caught in that space, and when we're caught in that space, we feel that we don't have a choice to move forward. But actually, like for me, it was the food thing. Now, like you said with the drugs, it was, I need to stop because this is going to kill me. I was exactly the same with the food. Like I needed to stop eating my emotions. I, because my trauma, my being bigger was my safety blanket. Having that extra weight on me was
Absolutely.
having that person, an extra person to protect me. You've said a lot there about your about heart-centered and your heart.
Mm.
You do talk a lot about being heart-centered. It's a new concept to me. I have heard it a few times, but can you just explain to me and to the listeners what you mean by heart-centered and soul-led living, I suppose?
Yeah, and it really is. I think that when let's start with intuition. You know, a lot of people say, I trust my gut. Well, let's start there. You trust your gut, it's attached to your spleen, it's where you process all your fear physically. So I would never trust my gut unless a lion is chasing me. But what I will trust is my intuition, which is a new muscle for a lot of people, which means trust. Trust is a huge part of this process. My intuition, I have to trust it. Trust the process, trust my voice, trust my decisions. And if you come out of chaos and trauma, you don't know how to trust yourself. You trust the situation and you're always trying to gauge it to survive. So you don't even, why would that's not even relevant. And I remember
Mhm.
telling someone, why would I focus on that? I'm busy surviving over here. What do you need from me? Slow down to breathe and trust. I remember the first time I did biofeedback, I'm like, what a waste of time. Fix my headaches. This is doing nothing. And they were trying to regulate. They were trying to regulate. I was so deregulated. I was trying to regulate. So for the people that are listening, trusting your intuition means that we're stepping into a heart centered soul living life, which means we're listening, we're feeling, we're not reactive, we're responding, we're stepping back and saying, instead of reacting and saying, we need to be heard. Over here, we need the ego wants to be heard. It wants to fight. It wants to defend, offense, defense. It is an active playing field. It's a war zone. Over
Mhm.
here, the heart centered living is expansive. It's slow. It says, I don't have to answer it's like I can step back and take a moment and breathe and say, "Oh, that's so interesting. Let me get back to you." That would be a soul heart-centered answer. It would be, "Let me think about it," because the trauma and the chaos isn't gonna give you time to think because you got your dukes up all the time and you're fighting
Mm.
for survival. Over here, I can respond authentically. Over here, I'm reacting. It's a reactive space. I'm gonna tell you, the first time I really recognized something very big in my life is when someone asked me if they could be, be a partnership in my company, and my trauma said, "Yes, absolutely." I never gave myself even time to take a breath. I had to be
Mhm.
heard, I had to overtalk. I mean, all of it was like, "Woo, that's a lot." Trauma can be a lot. We might come from a place of feeling unworthy, unwanted, unheard, all the uns, and then over here is abundance. We have the space, we give ourselves permission to respond. We give ourselves permission to show up in the world differently. And it takes time to put down the armor and not pick it back up. Now it's so heavy. I'm like, I can't, maybe I'm getting older. My mind, I can't lift that. I wouldn't
Mhm.
want to. I don't need to be protected because there's nothing that frightens me more than not feeling. And we pick that up because We don't wanna feel because we have no capacity. It's like, "Ah, let me go to the drugs, let me eat. I'm gonna stuff down the feelings because I don't know how to cope with those feelings." And I think for me, the migraines showed up and people are like, "Well, were the migraines real?" "Oh, you bet they were. I was hospitalized 10 days a month." They were suffering to, like, way past 10. I would never,
Yeah.
ever want anyone to suffer the way I suffered. However, I believe there's an emotional component that I didn't want to feel and that it would trigger and exasperate the headaches. And when we heal and we learn to regulate, and this is where biofeedback, all those modalities come in, we learn and breath. I didn't even realize my shoulders would go up with pain. I would hold my breath. So many people in trauma hold their breath, waiting for the shoe to drop. What they don't regulate. Just a box breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Boom, I'm back in my body. Now I can respond. But if I'm not breathing and my anxiety is just, it's like rapid fire. And if you've ever watched someone in trauma, you're looking at them and you're like, woo, that's a lot. I used
It's
to be
like
a lot.
like, 2 times speed, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I would
It's
say
like
5x or even 10x. Now I 10x my life in methodical action and deliberate action and intuitive action. But I remember my girlfriend about, well, maybe 10 years ago. She had a bunco. Bunco's some kind of game. I never was invited to that stuff, but she's a girl's girl, and she just has a lot of games, a lot of women over all the time, and I've never drank alcohol, and everyone's having fun, so I'm never really invited to those things. It used to hurt my feelings, now I'm like, "It's totally cool because I love my space." And now I show up, and I don't feel the obligation to drink, which I always felt like I'm a misfit, but we were standing by her, I'll never forget, we were standing by her fireplace, and she said, "I just wanna let you know you can be a lot. You know, just you're a lot." I never forgot that. And now I claim my allotness, but I think what she really didn't know how to articulate was when I'm nervous, my armor goes up, I defend, I'm not able to connect, but I'm there to prove something to you. Not that I wanna be better than you, but I'm trying to prove my worth. If I don't feel worthy, I'm gonna prove and prove and prove and prove and upmanship, and we see that in the world. We see women that do that, and now I just have love and compassion because I know what they're doing. And I
Yeah.
think that, when we know better, we're required to do better. And, it's not my job to say, "You're out of control." No, my job is to maybe hug them and maybe just
Mhm.
say, "You're amazing," because they are amazing. They've just got a trauma response, and I identify it. I can
Yeah.
identify
You
what's going on.
literally Sorry. You've literally just like, a memory's just come into my brain then. 2 things. One is when you said about what your friend just said, I remember so in March, I went to it was a fitness day with my, fitness coach, and loads of people came in, and there was one lady that I hadn't met. We'd obviously done online stuff, and she came in, and my friend that was with me, I remember her saying, my gosh, it's another you. And it's exactly that because I am a lot and I know I'm a lot because I do overshare. I do go 25,000 minutes a mile on my when I'm talking, but that is my trauma response.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
Ironically,
still I'm still that person. So, this allotness built $1,000,000 business, launched cauliflower foods, $1,000,000,000 business. This allotness allows me at 61 to run at a pace that most people think, "Are you on drugs?" And I'm like,
yeah.
"No, but I used to be, and it didn't look
Hmm.
like this. It was foggy, and I never got out of bed." And
Yeah.
then when I did, I showed the world the ego mask, how perfect I was. But now I accept. I know I'm a lot. And I don't
Yeah.
apologize. And if you're not my cup of tea and I'm not your cup of tea, there's no harm, no foul. God bless your soul. God bless your
No.
soul. Go find your people, go find your
Yeah.
tribe. But I will find mine, just like you said, I don't know how I found you. It was like being, different country, different everything. It's like, look at this. Look at how we found each other
Absolutely.
organically. And you reached out and put a demand on the universe and asked. I always respect that.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, you showed up for yourself.
I remember, but one of the things that you said, I don't know which Instagram reel it was, but it was literally whatever is going on, if you want to do something, step first, the universe will catch up. And I literally was like, that's what I'm doing. I'm not stopping,
Yes.
and I will keep reaching out because this
Yeah.
podcast is so important to me. And
Yeah.
even you've started this because you wanted to help people through trauma. I've started this because I want to help people through trauma.
Yeah.
And as soon as you open that up to the world, and as soon as, even if you start speaking to people, like last night, I was at a ladies in business Christmas party. And they, oh, so why are you here? This is what I'm doing. My gosh, do you know I went through this? And it's like the world is saying, come on, we need to talk. We need
Yes.
connection because
Yes.
if you don't talk about it, we will literally, like, we will stay in that fight or flight. We will stay in survival mode.
We need
But
it now more than ever. And when we heal, we are obligated, I think, to pay it forward and to hold space for those. And your commitment is you're going to draw that in and you will always, and this is that is a good point that you made. It's the premise of why I wrote the book. And it's we build out our higher self knows the way. We do not know how. You don't know where you're going with the podcast, but you know that by the day-to-day actions and how you show up, you're committed to this process. You're using your greatest power, the right to choose. You're doing what you're called to do. The future is none of your business and it doesn't need you. The past is none of your, it doesn't need you. We just usurp the lessons, but your greatest power is in this present moment, the right to choose. This right here is where all our power is. To talk about it. Someone's listening right now and saying, I can identify too. What do I do? Well, stay married to your process, divorce any expectations of the outcome. When we attach to something we need, the need is where the lie is. We don't need it. The need is what we've built up to protect, and the ego saying, "That's right, you need that." Like it told me, "You need that medication, or you're going to die." And I'm like, "I'm going to die." Do you see? It's powerful. We have to challenge it at every step and say, "No, no, I'm going to die if I keep this up." I'm grateful that my
absolutely.
body wasn't built with addiction. I could put it down and that was it. I never picked it back. I never wanted it. I never wanted it to begin with. But they
Yeah,
told me, "You're not gonna have any quality of life." So do you see that we build out these stories, and the stories are what runs our life. The most dominant thought you have when you wake up in the morning is running your life.
as if you wait, like if you wake up and say, all is well in my world today, I'm safe, I'm protected, I'm loved.
Boom,
It's,
back in your body,
oh,
dominant thought gone. You've claimed your power.
yeah.
Boom. And you can
And
say that, yeah.
I was gonna say, it just uplifts you, even like, even me
Yeah.
saying that here is what? It's like 7:15 in the evening in the UK, but it's just so empowering, and I just want to give a little shout out to Jen, the friend that, 1, brought us together, and 2,
She's lovely.
last year,
And
isn't
look at her
she?
life. Look at where she started. I mean, chief of police, and now she's got a wellness. She is absolutely committed to this process. Didn't start
Yeah,
out that way. She didn't know where she was going, but what did she do? I'm staying committed to the process. I want health. And what does that look like? Well, I got to show up every day and I've got to
every
do what I
day.
need. Every day I need to show up. I need to, and sometimes it's hard to show up for us when we've abandoned ourselves our whole life. I mean, let's
Absolutely.
face it, a lot of us are people pleasers. If someone else needed something from us, we would show up. We would literally burn our house down to make sure. Did you see I burned my house down so I could get here? You know,
Yeah,
and they're like, and then we're like, don't you aren't you grateful for don't you appreciate? And then we go into the rage and the guilt and the poor me. But how many of us abandon ourselves, when we start to take over and say, I'm worth it. I'm valuable. I'm doing this for me. We kind of gaslight ourselves. Are you sure you want to? We got to treat ourselves like this is the deal.
we would
I'm,
our
I'm not even
best.
going to go there, but we are first cause. I'm going to go into my book, cause and effect. Everything is cause and effect. We are first cause, which means the most intimate relationship you're ever going to have with anyone is with yourself.
Mhm.
Why would you not honor and treat yourself with the highest respect? You're going to spend the rest of your life with you. How can you honor, respect, love, speak worthiness over your own life? You would do it to anyone else, a best friend.
Mhm.
Oh, you're incredible. You look amazing. You look in the mirror. I look like shit. I'm so fat. Nobody wants me. I'm not smart enough. Who do you think you are? Just go back
Mhm.
to bed. That isn't off the cuff. to where it's not realistic of what people say every day. And they may not say it out loud, but subconsciously, that is their tape
Yeah.
65,000 times. And then we try to interrupt it. And that's what we need to do. Keep interrupting. And how we interrupt it is I am worthy. I am safe. I am loved. Everything is working out for me. Everything is working out for me. And we don't wait and say that when everything is working out for me. No, whether regardless of circumstances should run your life. We're consistent and we are married to this process. And what my life, people think, oh my God, you built such an incredible life. There are many, many, many challenges and dark days. It's just the way it is. I just don't give it any power or energy. What I also
Yeah.
know is the more challenging it is, I'm excited. I'm like, ooh, something big must be happening because the universe is always working for me, not against me. I also know that that's the way it shows up. And I'm committed that circumstances don't depict whether I'm grateful, how I show up. There may be days where I throw in the towel and say, "Man, game over. I'm going to go take a nap and watch Netflix." But I give myself permission to do that. I don't shame myself on any level.
Yeah.
I give myself permission and say, "You know what? Let's go do that. Let's do some mind dumping." What you have to give yourself the love and the
Yeah.
honoring, you
And
know,
compassion.
and compassion, the love and compassion for me, and every time I have to identify what version of me is showing up. Is it the
Mhm.
6-year-old wounded person that sat in that living room with the police when her parents divorced? Was it the teenager that was out of control with no tools and felt so unloved and so unworthy? Is she showing up because she's angry? Is it the 20-year-old that's terrified? And has an attachment issue, what version needs my love and compassion the most? I cannot shame those versions into abundance, into li and I can't say, "I love my life," and shame them. I have to
No.
love and honor them, and in that connectiveness, there's expansion there, and
Versions
grounding.
of yeah, sorry. Those
Yeah.
versions of yourself got you through those moments at that time.
Bravo,
And
and I talk about that, yeah, this is why I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for you, I'm especially grateful for you because you had it the worst. You starved yourself for 10 years, because someone said something to you and you thought that being thin was the only way to get what you wanted. So I'm gonna give you so much love, and I'm gonna give you a piece of cake. Eat the cake. I go back and I love those we cannot shame and ridicule ourselves into abundance. We have to go back and because I'm so grateful, and gratitude is one of our highest vibrations. I'm grateful that they got me here. They got me here. I had a dream once that I opened the door and it was a version of me. And I mean, I'll never forget it. It was 15 years ago, almost maybe 12. But I woke up crying. My face, I'm literally crying. And it was a version. Well, I can see who was standing at the door and I opened it and I'm like, is this two of me? And it was so vivid that it wasn't a dream, it was a visit, and it was a visit, but it changed my life because I remember this higher self. I remember the curtains, the smell of the ocean, the small room, the blue door. I can still see and feel all of it. But she grabbed my hands and said, "I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you for all the work." And I mean, I woke up sobbing because
good.
yeah, this higher version of me, and I'm like, "Was that a dream?" I remember it I mean, this is how I know it was a visit. I remember it just as vivid at this moment and I haven't talked about it in years, but I remember standing there and thinking, "Is this where I'm gonna live? Are you real? Is this happening?" But it was profound, and I think that we have to claim those moments.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important that because shame is such a big concept when it comes to trauma, shame, guilt, or so many negative feelings that we carry on, like you said, like Brené Brown said, like the armor. Each kind of
Yeah,
emotion is another
yeah,
clink.
yeah.
Clink? Yeah, clink.
Yeah. Well, I like the word cling. And let's face it, it's all low vibrational energy. It's,
Mhm.
a pyramid of energy where enlightenment is 700. Then we have, joy, happiness, peace, all those. And in the middle is neutrality. And underneath it is grief. We have to hold space for both. Grief isn't something we shouldn't feel, but shame is it's at 20. It's the lowest vibration on the pyramid of energy. It's the lowest vibration. So if we're in shame and we're feeling guilt and shame all the time, and remember this, Worry, doubt, fear, and guilt will keep you in the struggle. It's like the ego says, back in the maze, back in the struggle, you haven't figured it out yet. It will keep you there. So we must identify it and say, I love you. You have no reason to be guilty. I love you. Boom, chains broken. Now you're able to navigate and show up differently in the world. And that's what we want. We want an abundant life.
Yeah.
Abundance is your birthright. It's your birthright.
Absolutely. And
Why
you
are you
say that in your
bound? Yeah.
book.
Yes, it's true.
I
Yeah.
just, so one of the things I need to just, I've got your book here.
Yeah.
I need to say is something, it's not, we've not even got into the book. And
Kind of we do.
sorry, I mean, like I
Yeah.
hadn't even got into the book, started
Yeah.
reading, and you literally wrote a note to your daughters, and it literally hit me in my heart because I've got two little girls, they're 10 and 7, and I'm doing my best to stop that generational trauma, to stop the guilt, the
Yeah.
shame, the anger, and all the emotions
You're
that
not trying,
are.
you're doing. You're not trying, you're doing. Claim it.
Thank you.
You know, when we say we're trying, no, no, no. You're
No, I
doing it.
am doing
I
it.
claim it. I got a stake in it. I'm in it. Doesn't mean perfection. I think we use the word trying because if we haven't perfected it yet, we're still
Yeah,
trying.
that's
Nope.
true.
You're claiming it, you're doing it, you're evolving, and then you speak that over your life. But when we're like happy, I'm trying. I'm
No, you're
trying to
right.
lose. How many times I'm trying to lose weight as I eat the cake? I'm trying. No, either I'm
Yeah,
doing and I'm committed. You are committed to this process. I'm committed.
yeah,
I'm speaking this over my life, but it doesn't mean perfect. Doesn't mean I'm not going to fall off I hitch my wagon, fall off the wagon, and I'm gonna eat a piece of cake, but I don't shame myself.
no,
If I'm gonna
exactly.
eat it, I'm gonna love it and I'm gonna enjoy it. And I hope that it's like German chocolate or maybe lemon or something I love, you know.
Yeah,
But we honor it.
yeah,
We have to it's such an energy shift, such a game changer. When we honor us first cause, we come first. You
mhm,
come first. You have 2 dogs. You come first. And when we've had trauma, we abandon ourselves completely. If I make my children happy and I overbuy and I overgive, everything's going to be okay because they're not going to feel the lack and the scarcity. Doesn't work. Oh, trust me,
mm,
I have daughters in their late 30s. Doesn't work. Now I hold the space and I'm like, I know I did that. I'm accountable. Yep, that's true too. But now I know better. And even now, if they're like, Mom, da, 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 I'm like, I can do better. There's never a defense. Like, that's not true. It doesn't matter. I don't need to be right. I can do better. And it's my job to hold space for them, for their trauma. If I'm defending
yeah,
myself, I'm not hearing them. I'm simply defending myself because my ego's coming in and saying, I can't accept that. I can't feel that. I don't want to acknowledge that. It's too much pain. And when
yeah,
I would defend myself the most, that's not true. The doctors gave it to me. I'm doesn't matter if someone calls me a drug addict. I don't care what they call me. It doesn't matter. I'm not attached to that story. I've attached myself to the expansion of the healing. And anyone's opinion is it's none of my business anyway. And when you write a book and you put that out there, you're getting a lot of opinions. And you're like,
yeah,
I didn't know, and you look so perfect. I'm like, wow. They're seeing it through their viewmaster. You know, the viewmaster.
yeah,
Your lens sees me that way. I'm not responsible for how you see me. I'm only responsible to my healing, to my growth,
yeah,
and my accountability. You know, I think when we have trauma, we show up in the world and we need power. And you see this in violence in the world. You see it everywhere. But I remember it was an electric teapot when they first came out in the States. It was God Chalk's, a little store and a high-end store. And I remember tromping in there one day to return it because it didn't work. It was expensive. And my best friend was with me, and I was always going to win because that's what I did. I didn't listen. I was a master negotiator. This is what I did for a living in the world, and I wasn't going to lose. And she was a young girl, and yes, I won. Yes, she was telling me, send it back to the company. And you know what? This is the process. And I wasn't going to do any of that. I wanted her to refund me. This is where I bought it. And I dominated, and I didn't yell or threaten, but she was not going to win.
yeah,
And she finally did it. And when I left, I'm high-fiving my girlfriend. I have no idea that I've just destroyed somebody, but
mm,
this was a pivotal moment. I actually turned and pivoted back because I thought they were talking about me. Someone walked up and I'm like, I was going to catch somebody talking about me
mm,
and go back and be more confrontational. And I turned back and that woman was hugging her and that girl was sobbing. And I looked at my friend and I said, "I am so ashamed. I will never do that again." I didn't know that's the way I got my power.
No.
I learned to identify, you have to win. You have to be right.
Yeah.
That's you feel so powerless. You're not trying to hurt anybody, but that's where you
You're
get
just trying
this
to
is
stay in control.
yeah, this is where your road rage comes from. This is why you're yelling. This is why you have to be right. This is why you will go on this. How many times have we heard that? I'm dying on the sword. I would have died on
Mm,
any sword to be right because
no,
what did I make it mean if I was wrong?
mad.
Yeah.
That's just so powerful, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just and our in what we walk through, our in what we
Yeah.
think is our intention at the time, actually, now walking through, when you've gone over the hill of trauma and you are on the other side where you're embracing your goodness, you're embracing your own flaws, you can look back and see, actually, I know what I was doing then wasn't who I want to be, but I
Yeah.
had no way of controlling that emotional or that regulation side of me because that was my body, my
Yeah.
emotional system protecting me and keeping me in control because actually you not that lady not giving you that refund, like, can you really even imagine what would have done on the flip side? It would have been you
Yeah.
would have been destroyed.
And let's face it, I was I have thicker skin. I was incredibly sensitive. I took everything personal. Everything destroyed me because I had no resilience anywhere. I just knew that if I did that, I would feel some sense of power, and it wasn't I didn't even know it. It
Mhm.
just I just had an enormous amount of energy for conflict,
Yeah.
to win, and let's face it, there's never any peace there. There's momentary victories, but where the peace lives is in I don't need to win. I don't take things personally. They're incredible things that happen, and I release it as quick. My question now is, what do I need to know? Why did I call that in? Where is the growth edge here? And that is the universe coming in and it's moving like this. It's vibrating very high. And if someone comes in and offends me or I know that they're threatened by me, God bless your soul. God
Yeah.
bless your soul. I want you well. I want you to heal because that kind of and especially in the world right now with women, the competitive nature,
Yeah.
I'm all about collaboration. I'm all about showing up. When I say I'm a woman for woman, I mean it. Not like
Mhm.
women for women. And then I'm going to ostracize. I got my little clique and you're out, I'm in, and I'm going to
Yeah.
make you feel as small as and it's the door is always closed for you. And I see it everywhere. It was blinding to me this year. And it's not like all the doors closed for me, but the doors that did close, I had enormous amount I had a very successful year, but the doors that did close, I'm so grateful because I'm not meant to be there. And I
No,
don't go with a
absolutely.
pull and like, I want in, I need to be on the no. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing me the truth, not
Yeah.
only of who they are, but what I need. It's not about them. It's about trusting my intuition and my guidance. I called it in. So the universe is going
Yeah.
to say, "Oh, you want the truth? Well, let us illuminate. Let us show you who they are.
Yeah.
When we're ready, we will know who they
Yeah.
will show us who they are." And it was just like illumination this year, like boom, boom. And I'm like, wow, especially the last few months before I walked the Camino, it was like the universe was clearing the playing field. It could have been the year of the snake,
Yeah.
letting go, because I'm gonna tell you, it was pivotal shifts. And it set me up not only to make more money because I was willing to let go. I didn't hang on and say, but that could be a door that could I need that I built it. Let it go.
Mhm.
That's universal law of sacrifice. If I can sacrifice and let go, boom, I've activated enormous abundance because I can't have both hands on the door. I have to
Yeah.
let go, release, lovingly release them into the universe. Then boom, I'm available. I've created
Yeah.
an enormous amount of space for what is next. I don't even know what 2026 looks for me. I don't even know what it looks like. And I don't need to know. It's none of my business, but I'm
No.
excited. I'm
A
excited about what I'm attracting as long as I'm doing the work and trusting the process and not going into fear, doubt, worry, and the bind.
yeah.
That'll take me right down the rabbit hole. But over here, it's just like Yeah, I don't need proof.
No, I
It's like
don't.
yeah, it's like faith, it's like all the things. Well, if you have faith in God, where's your proof? Well, I don't need it. It lives in here, and I keep
Yeah,
showing up and reinforcing that muscle of faith and truth and intuition. They are your catalyst for freedom.
that's that is so powerful, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
listening to those and intuition, we all have it. We may not tap into it,
Yeah.
but actually, and
It's
you
a
may
muscle we
say
gotta build.
absolutely. So on that, can you, if somebody is like, I've never had intuition, I don't know what intuition is, how can they find that first muscle? How can they find that first
Mhm.
spark of intuition and how can they build on it?
Well, they might have a story. They may have never been exposed to what that means. First, understand that the intuition is a feeling that lives in the body. The brain is processing all this information and sending it down to the body, and the body knows the way, and I do believe it does. It's a feeling, a visceral feeling of trust. And if you don't trust yourself, your intuition's gonna be all over the place. You might get it right sometimes, like, but the intuition lives there to guide us. Let's ask it,
Mhm.
what does it do? It's an internal compass. It's a guide. It's just like, I don't know if you've ever energy test where someone tells you a truth or a lie. They say the truth and your body actually leans forward, and you're like, "Yeah, it did lean forward." Or they tell you a lie, and you're just the energy moves back. The universal law of vibration. Everything vibrates. Everything is energy. In fact, money is just an energy that will only follow one thing, authority. And if you are not the authority in your life and you keep dodging and you're all over the place and you trust nothing, money will have a very hard time following you. But if
Mhm.
you can be still and trust without being attached to any outcome, you don't need to know what the future holds. You just do the work, stay committed, and money's like, oh, looks abundant there. Look
Mm.
at that expansion. I can land there, plenty of room for me. But if I'm over here contracting with the ego and demanding and dividing and separating and gossiping and all this low vibrational energy, the money is just like, oh, there's no room for me here. Look at that. You're gonna strangle me. I'm gonna give you a little bit. And we speak our life into existence.
Mhm.
It's so funny because I think Lewis Howes said it, and I've experienced it myself. He says, I was doing this abundance practice, and I said, I am abundant. I'm going to find money everywhere. What's the harm in speaking that into existence if our life follows? And he
Mm.
went out that day and he found all these pennies. If we're gonna claim it, abundance, he got abundance,
Yeah,
but if we're gonna claim it, we don't wanna put a cap on it because the universe is more abundant than we can ever be. But we have a high low, and we will never rise or be worthy above what we believe we are worthy of. We're gonna cap
yeah.
it. But I say uncap it, but you wanna claim something. Your low may be, I'm gonna call in $10,000. I don't know where it's gonna come from. I don't know. This happens all the time. I do this with my clients all the time, and they're like, you are not gonna believe it. There was a trust 30 years ago that closed out, they found me, and I just got a check for $29,887. Can you believe that? I'm like, "Oh, you bet I can." I've done it
Mhm.
hundreds of times with people. You claim it, you call it in, and we call everything in. We call lack
Yeah.
and scarcity in too. If I'm committed to like, "I can't afford that, I can't afford that, I can't afford," well, let's just slow down around money, and just flip the word money out and put energy in. I don't have enough
Mm.
money. Nope, I don't have enough energy. Well, wait a minute, that's weird because
Yeah.
money is just energy and it vibrates and we're vibrating and either calling it in or not. And this has everything to do with our trauma because we're vibrating there. If we feel lack, scarcity, never, best, all we're using superlatives like always best, never worse. It's like, oh, you're sending very powerful messages to the universe about who you are and what you are. You're
Yeah.
required to heal that. We don't have to live in the trauma. We don't set ourselves up in the shadow work in the swamp. However, you know, I'm grateful for that because that's where lotuses grow. But it just means they grow there. We get to
Mhm.
shift. We don't have to stay there. And I think we have to give ourselves back to the beginning. Permission,
Yeah.
permission for joy, permission to be happy, permission to hold space for both. Sometimes I'm still grieving versions of myself and sometimes I feel joyful. Can you hold space for both? No? Yes? Is that a trick question? Yes, you can. We
Absolutely.
have to, and it's a new muscle. It's a new identity. And I don't I don't think we need to reinvent ourselves as much as we need to heal and expand and claim it. I claim my healing. There are people that are going to show up and want me exactly where I used to be. They're going to try to
Mhm.
provoke. I remember who you are. I know. I've been getting these ugly letters for about 7 years now. I've gotten two. They're dark, they're incredibly disturbing. And it doesn't say anything really about me, but it says a lot about them, the person that wrote it.
Mm.
And that's where I'm at in this healing journey. And they're never signed. It has nothing to do with me. It has
No.
everything to do with I am rubbing up against somebody who feels powerless. And what
Yeah.
they want to do is drag me back there, remind me who I am, remind me that I did this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the first one to say. I wrote a book about it. Remember, I know who I am. I know
Absolutely.
my trauma. I know what I
Yeah.
yeah, I know what I was married to. I know what he did. Yeah, he got prosecuted, lost his medical. I know it all. It's chaos will follow us until we heal.
Like, they were my shoes. I walked in there.
Yeah,
So,
and in my size 12 feet, I walked in them, but big feet, a lot of stability, a lot of
what size
healing.
12 in the UK? I don't know what size 12 is in the UK. That's
Uh,
US size, isn't it?
yeah, it's a US size. It's a big foot. I'm tall, but that even for as tall as I am, that's still a big foot. But my brothers had like size 13, 15, which are big feet. I remember I lost my luggage in Europe, in Rome. I do an Italy retreat every year, and my luggage didn't get there. And I thought, I've got a retreat to run. So I went to buy some shoes, and I'm like, I need a 42. 43 would be best, but 42 will work. They're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, the size of my shoe. You run on we only go up to a 39. Who in the world has a 42 foot? And this is what they said. I'm like, that was broken English. Did you really understand me? Or did you really just say I have a ridiculous size foot? But what I did do is I had to buy men's shoes because women's shoes only go up to a size 39. So yes, I do have a large foot, but I look at it as I'm so grateful for them because guess what? I could have lost my legs and that would be my feet too.
Absolutely.
So every
Yeah.
step I did on that Camino, I didn't say, "Don't show your legs." They didn't swell like they used to. They did beautifully. They did beautifully because I honored them. I respect them. I had massages every night. I had these little things that bring in circulation, whether they were injured or not, because I've lost a lot of muscle where the infections ate away my tissue. And then they're scarred, but they're healthy, they're there. I'm grateful. It's my life. On my deathbed, am I gonna be like, "Oh my god, that person I don't know in the middle of the Bahamas saw my legs and they're still talking about me." No, I'm gonna say, "I was in the middle of Antigua in the most gorgeous waters of my life in my bathing suit. I didn't wear a wetsuit to hide because I would have died of heat stroke, and the water hit my legs and the sun on my face." I'm gonna remember that. I'm not gonna remember
Absolutely.
the person that's like, Ju
Because
what happened to your legs? Doesn't matter.
no. And
What
you're
happened to your
right, that is
psyche?
their
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
literally their issue. I just love the way you've flipped everything from the universe, from what you did say to what you can say to what you are saying. And it's been actually a really big journey for me, only for the last kind of month or so, because I read the book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne,
Oh, yeah.
and I was
Fabulous
just,
book.
and then I obviously went onto your Instagram and I was going through everything and I was like,
Do you see how
wow,
guided you
okay.
were? You didn't just trip over me. It wasn't random. The universe isn't random. You are guided just like that day I tore up the scripts. I don't know what to do. I had no plan. And then someone says, "Hey, I've got this book I think you might be interested in." Louise Hay, The Basis of 21 Days to Heal Your Life. Her book on, heal your body, heal your mind. It's psychologically everything that in the physicality, what it is emotionally attached to, and a mantra, a prayer over your life. Everything is working for us. And if we
Yeah,
say, "Everything is working for me, not against me," we're gonna keep calling in everything that we need. Everything. We say it, it's an abundant universe. Everything you're ever gonna need is in the here and the now. Not in the
yeah,
future, in the here and the now. It's our job to claim it, call it in, and get really clear about our intentions and our wants. Our needs will always lie to us. Our mind will always lie to us because it's attached to the stories, which can be extraordinarily abundant. We have to quiet them down. Shh. I understand. I love you. I'm grateful. Even my ego, I'm so grateful you protected me. I don't need you now. That pink chair you see behind you used to sit next to me, and that was my inner child. I would talk to her. I know you're frightened. I know you're frightened, but I would say, do you trust me? Do you trust me? For 4 years, do you trust me? And finally she trusted me. But no, she didn't trust me. She didn't trust anything. So if my inner child doesn't trust me, I have to ask, who's running the show here? I may be a 61-year-old woman, but a lot of people are out there, and there's a 6-year-old running the show and a 10-year-old running the show. We can see it everywhere. I had a very wounded 6-year-old who was abandoned running the show. So anything that rubbed up against that abandonment was alert, alert, alert. I'm not wanted. And this is how it shows up. I'm not wanted. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. No one ever loves me. And it just, the cycle doesn't end until we decide to love ourselves, to honor ourselves. And I asked her, do you trust me? Trust is the foundation of all of this. And eventually, all the versions trust me. They all trust me because I've led them into peace and abundance. And now I've integrated all these versions into this. And I will never claim that I'm 100% healed. What I will claim is it's a journey. And when you start this work and you're committed to this, it doesn't end. It doesn't end. You just keep expanding and learning and growing. And I'm committed to that expansion.
That's exactly why I named the podcast Riding the Trauma Train, because
Yeah.
we do ride our trauma throughout our lives, and we get on different paths, we get on
Yeah.
different, some days it's traveling up a hill and it's hard as hell, and other days it's a breeze. It's just a case of
Yeah.
riding along with it and
Yeah.
being true.
And we know it's temporary. I have a bad
Yeah.
day. Tomorrow's a new day. I have a bad moment. Breathe through it, or spend a moment, set your timer for 1 minute, write it out, scream, jump up and down, and then it's over.
Yeah.
We don't stuff the grief or anger down. It's healthy emotion, but we don't project it out into the world. We deal with it and we ask what's going on, what's happening, and we identify it and we love ourselves through it. Anyway, thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.
Yes, you are so welcome. Can I just ask you one last question,
Sure.
which it's called the conductor's question. If you could speak to the version of yourself who first boarded the trauma train, knowing what you know now about
Mm.
the universe and how you talk to yourself, what would you say to her?
Well, we tapped on this just a little bit, so it was very guided. And, I'm not going to preempt by anything clever. I went right to the gold chair in the living room. Police were there. My parents had a fight. It preempted. They would soon divorce. I was 6 years old. I look at her. She was terrified. I look at her and I would tell her, "You are so loved. Please believe in yourself. Please believe that you're worthy. Please know that you're lovable." Because I think with my mom failing to connect, there was not that love, and the rug was pulled out from underneath me, and so I spent my life trying to be worthy of love, and it was my birthright. I was born being worthy of love. I didn't have to work for it. I would go back and I would hold her and I would say, "All is well. All is well in your world. You are safe. You are loved. You are protected." I did not feel safe, loved, or protected. So my core wound was safety. And that showed up, with betrayal. I attracted all of that in order to deflect from the one thing I needed most. I found safety and love in everything external. I would tell her, "You have everything you need. You are safe. You are loved. You are protected." That's what I would say.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And I know that my listeners are going to be so grateful for everything that you have shared with us. You are a beautiful person, and I am so honored
So are
to
you.
be connecting with you.
Well, thank you for having me. I love this connection. I love this conversation. And, I always say that I will answer anything. If anyone's listening, we're willing to give a free assessment away, something that might help them just connect and look in the mirror and chart it. We're willing to give that. We'll give you the link, and come find me on
Amazing.
Instagram at The Real Dana Grant. Because if you send me a message, as you know, it might take me a while, but I will answer.
You do,
Yes.
100%.
Yes. No, there's no, "I'm so busy, I'm so important." No, I will connect and answer. We are all on this playing field. We are all locking arms and healing together. This is my mission.
I Thank you so much for joining me today on Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia, and I feel privileged to share this space with you. No matter where you are on this train right now, whether it's in survival mode, slowly finding your feet in recovery, or maybe it's somewhere in between, remember you are not alone in what you're feeling, and you do not have to travel this journey by yourself. So if you'd like to continue traveling together, please follow Riding the Trauma Train wherever you're listening so you can join us at the next stop. Until next time, take care.